We are so back. That's right, Zelda is back. Gosh, I'm so excited to finally talk about a Zelda on this channel. It's one of my favorite franchises of all time. Aren't you excited?
Who? Me? There's a new Zelda?
Yeah, there's a new Zelda. You play as Zelda.
Don't you always play as Zelda? The guy in green with the sword?
What? No, that's Link. This is Zelda, the princess, the person the game is named after. You don't know about this?
No, wait. You play as the princess?
Yeah.
The one that's always being captured.
Yeah.
What's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah, I just mean, if you're gonna give her the sword, is it really all that special?
Actually, she doesn't really do the fighting. She uses her powers to fight for her.
So what? Her power is complaining?
Oh my god. No. What? Well, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with him?
Hey, it just doesn't seem like a new game could be centered around the damsel in distress.
That is so gross.
What? Am I wrong?
Yes. This is her first true entry in the franchise. This is a special moment.
I don't know, man. Every time I played random in Smash and I've always gotten her, she's always let me down.
Right. She let you down, not your skill.
It's her dress. She just twirls.
Of course.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, did you know about this?
Did you?
How about you? Right, so no one seems to really care, or even know for that matter, about this game. You don't have a sword, and you don't play as the green guy. So, how is this game special at all?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom may seem to just be a spin-off in the franchise, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Echoes of Wisdom is the next entry in the Zelda franchise. It is in fact a fully realized original experience that takes inspiration from the beloved past iterations in both gameplay and world building. And not only does it do just that, but it does it exceptionally well, which makes it all the more interesting that the game seems to surprisingly not receive the attention you would expect from a new entry in the iconic franchise. Straight up, people have asked me what my next playthrough is going to be, and when I tell them Echoes of Wisdom, they seem shocked as if they never heard of it. I think Nintendo absolutely fumbled when it came to the marketing for this game. Game studio Grezzo was given the opportunity to prove themselves to Nintendo by remaking the beloved adventure that is Link's Awakening. And they did just that while also creating a bold and cute visual identity, both new to the game and the franchise. Apparently they succeeded because it was enough for Nintendo to give them the honor to create a new and fresh experience in one of the most famous gaming worlds of all time. This time it would be different, however. Now having the task to create a new Hyrule with a fresh, exciting new story and unique yet familiar mechanics to go along with it all. Thankfully, Grezzo has proven themselves yet again by delivering on all those aspects while capturing the spirit of what we all know and love and expect from a Zelda, which is all the more surprising because this time we don't even play as the guy in green. Nope, this time it's Zelda's turn. It's up to her to save Hyrule from the evil entities corrupting our home, which makes it all the more painful not seeing this game receive more attention. Of course, this is more of a 2D Zelda, which never sells as well as the 3D ones, but the cynical side of me thinks that maybe there's more to it. Like, because you play as the princess instead of the guy in the tunic. I don't know what it is exactly, but it is interesting and maybe even a little bit concerning. I guess we'll just have to wait until a sales report comes out about this one, but until then, we can still appreciate all this incredible game has to offer, because the game does offer a lot. Much like previous 2D entries in the franchise, Echoes of Wisdom takes that linear progression and exploration of traversing the world in the classic dungeons in it and infuses it with the creative problem-solving mechanics similar to what made Tears of the Kingdom so fascinating. This clever fusion of past and modern ideas creates such a unique experience and makes your time playing it feel both fresh and nostalgic. The common structure found in older 2D Zeldas is greatly represented in this one, but the almost free-forming problem solving from the new Echo mechanic makes it play like a modern Zelda. You'll traverse this 2D landscape and encounter environmental barriers and sword-lunging monsters once again. However, this time, you won't find yourself simply crossing these barriers with a sword or a tool found in a dungeon while donning the iconic green tunic. Instead, you'll use your staff, held by the titular character, and the help of a magical friend to create echoes. Think of these echoes as copying and pasting. By defeating enemies or coming across random objects, you can create copies or echoes, allowing you to paste them in front of you to help aid you in your journey by clearing a path of soliciting enemies or simply propping yourself up to an otherwise impossible to reach ledge. These echoes act as clever means of progressions as you regularly add more to your arsenal. This arsenal fills up quick as you traverse forward in your journey. So quick that you'll probably find yourself scrolling quite a bit to reach the one that you're looking for. It can certainly be annoying constantly scrolling through this, but time will stop allowing you to think ahead in a fight should you ever start feeling like the current echoes in use seem to be ineffective. While this can get in the way of the experience a bit, it never made me feel any less excited to see how I could use a newly found echo in different scenarios. The joy and wonder of acquiring a new echo and then experimenting with it is such a clever, ever-evolving mechanic that's only limited by the imagination of the player. Take this trampoline I found early on for an example. I found myself using this trampoline a lot towards the beginning to help me reach certain areas, but once I acquired this crotula, it opened the door to even more possibilities. This P-hat seems like a pretty good safety net for combat early on, but then I acquired a high-level Dark Knot and it became my knight in shining armor. And that's where the game shines. The seemingly endless possibilities to solve a problem is a great way to let the player flex their brain muscles to come up with some solutions to obstacles in almost game-breaking ways. This is especially true when it comes to puzzles, because it's not just ledges and monsters that echoes are used for. If you're anything like me, you also miss the classic dungeon crawling aspect found in past entries, using dungeon-specific keys or gadgets to help traverse and conquer what lied ahead. Thankfully, all this is back, sort of. Sporadic rifts infest Hyrule, engulfing anything and anyone caught in it. With the help of our magical friend, Zelda is able to enter these smaller structured areas of the game that almost play classic dungeons to help restore the missing fragments and people of Hyrule. I say almost because you won't be using a key item such as a hook shot you find in the beginning that will then be a gimmick specific to that dungeon. Instead, you may find a couple new echoes unique to that specific rift that will then force you to find creative solutions using them, but don't feel like you need to rely on these entirely. You see, you are rewarded from your exploration of the world and your discoveries and echoes in it. You're constantly finding these new echoes that can only be found in certain regions of the world, and in doing so, it opens up your options for solving problems with them elsewhere. The dungeons may hand you a few dungeon-specific echoes, but the awarded echoes granted throughout your exploration continue to aid you throughout. While not every echo is useful in every moment, because that would just be too easy, that doesn't mean there isn't a time and place for each and every one of them. That's when you come across a puzzle that has you find and push down a hit a button or to find a way to cross a large gap. You'll come up with an idea that'll accomplish your challenge and then walk away and realize, I probably could have done that another way. The game only limits this imagination by adding a cost value to each echo, making it so you can't simply conjure an infinite amount of beds, because if I could have, I would have. Eventually you'll be able to upgrade our magical friend, Try, to not only earn more shards to spend, but also reduce the cost of certain echoes. This creates a nice boundary between the player and the game, forcing the player to scrape together every and any combination of echoes to effectively solve problems, even if it's not the most glamorous means of doing so. And the game encourages you to do so. It never feels like there's a right solution. There's only really ever wrong ones, but they can be easily erased, allowing you to start over and try again, pushing the boundaries of the game and your imagination. While the name of the game is Echoes, literally, they aren't your only tools readily accessible on your journey. Early on, you'll be granted with a tether-like ability similar to the Ultra Hand ability used in Tears. You'll find this ability helpful in trying to grab hard-to-reach objects, allowing you to move said objects in ways to help solve puzzles or clear a blocked path. Combining this with well-placed echoes allow you to solve puzzles in well-thought-out ways. Another tool at your disposal are these automatons that are granted only after completing an easily missed side quest. These machines act as echoes, allowing you to spawn them to aid you without having to spend any shards for them though. This could be a nice little boost in combat scenarios, but you have to be careful because they do have a health, and if you do destroy them, you have to go back and get them repaired. Then of course, there's the great ability that allows Zelda to take the form of Link, equipping you with weapons to personally combat foes. But before you get ahead of yourself, there are limitations to it. An energy bar for this ability quickly depletes while in this mode, forcing you to strategically decide when and where to engage in it. This creates a nice justification between your complete arsenal to have players effectively balance their playstyle and strategies. Like Tri's abilities, this energy bar and the weapons granted can also be upgraded, this time using might crystals found throughout the world to increase the size of your bar or moves available while in this mode. This is just another one of those aspects that makes exploring the world rewarding. And if you know Zelda, you should expect that it isn't just might crystals to be found in the world. Rupees, heart containers, and fairies are scattered galore throughout the world, along with ingredients that act similar to the ones that you'd find in recent entries. While you won't be cooking up full course meals, you'll instead be creating more easily digestible smoothies. Like before, these delicious recipes recover hearts while also granting certain buffs such as faster swimming or resistance to freezing temperatures, depending on the combination of certain ingredients. It's just another example of combining those modern Zelda ideas into the 2D experience. Now that you know how the game plays, it's important to know how it feels. I've talked about echoes in a way that makes it sound like they're anything less than innovative and impressive, and while they are, there are moments when the game and its fundamental mechanics can feel as if there's something missing, specifically when it comes to combat. At its core, it is a Zelda game, so the sure encounters of monsters appearing along your journey are absolutely apparent, but the means of dealing with them is what shapes this game to separate itself from what you would expect from the franchise. Echoes are great and fun to experiment with. However, certain echoes, especially early on, can make a combat moment feel underwhelming, having to take the back seat to watch as your single notice summon does its best at what it does. It's moments like these that can't help you feel like a proper sword and shield is missing. It's this that's going to make the game certainly not for everyone, because while the idea of echoes is conceptually great and works, it's still not as interesting as wielding a magical sword or bow. Combine that with a game performance that makes you feel even more desperate for the need of a Switch 2, and the game slips from being a masterpiece to, well, a pretty damn good game still. The occasional dull combat and the shaky frame rate definitely hold the game back, but certainly not enough to make the game any less deserving of the spotlight. Echoes of Wisdom is a game that surprised me from start to end. By fusing both past and modern, you're reminded of the typical structure expected from Zelda while feeling like there's still so much untapped potential in the franchise. And it blends these ideas so well that it never feels like the game couldn't or shouldn't be attached to the Zelda brand. It's a warm feeling to once again traverse a dungeon, but that could have been really easy for it to just slip into fan service for a Zelda in 2024, especially due to the reception of fans complaining about the previous two entries not having the definitive dungeon-like aspects that we all know and love. Nintendo easily could have slapped this game in between the main entries with a subpar run-of-the-mill entry, but instead delivered an incredibly rich and deep experience that rivals its predecessors. It instills hope in me that even after the success of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that the 2D experience can still coexist along with its 3D counterparts. It's one for the books and a must play for any Zelda fan. Very quickly, I want to also mention that in my previous review of the Plucky Squire, one of my main criticisms was the hand-holding level of difficulty and how it felt like it watered down some of its puzzles in doing so. I feel that that game and Echoes share some similarities in both being 2D puzzle-solving games, and it confused me as to why the puzzles in this game work so much more for me this time, even though I believe the game could also be for younger audiences. I thought maybe I had unintentionally forgiven these moments in real time because it had the Zelda brand attached to it, but after thinking long and hard about it, I think I figured it out. What Echoes excels in that the Plucky Squire struggles with is giving the players the tools to solve their puzzles. Rather than having the players fetch for their solution that is simply a page away, forcing them to mundanely go through the motion of retrieving said solution, is where that game drags, whereas in Echoes, your approach to a puzzle is far simpler and more rewarding because the solution to your challenge will inherently be found in your pocket, channeling the player's intuition and imagination rather than their time. It's so simple yet so much more effective. Of course, some younger players in this one will struggle along the way, needing a nudge in the right direction, but to show them a way to approach a problem should simultaneously show them that it's not necessarily the way to solve one. It's a brilliant concept shown off in Tears that is far more approachable in this one. That's about all I got. I had a great time, if you couldn't tell. I was really impressed that in 2024 that a 2D Zelda could still work, which is very exciting. As a 2D Zelda fan, I believe that this is a really good sign for the franchise, and I look forward to what they do next. It did take me a bit longer than I was expecting, so sorry for the late post. I hope this still finds an audience in time, but until then, I hope to get back on track with a spookier entry into the Poogles catalog, so please give a like and subscribe as you look forward to that. Spooky season is in full force right now, and as a huge fan of Halloween, I'm looking forward to diving into hopefully a couple horror games before the big night. So I look forward to that, and thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.